Hey everyone, today I want to talk to you about conspiracy theories. I really want to talk about how conspiracy theories are made, how they're conceived of. Basically, somebody has to write these things in the first place, and who is it that comes up with conspiracy theories? Who is it that writes them? And how is it that they are really conceived of? These are really important questions to ask anytime it is that you read a conspiracy theory or you watch something on a conspiracy theory. You really need to think, who is the author of this? Because at some point it had to be written. It had to have been come up with, and there always has to be a reason for someone to come up with something. And with conspiracy theories, there are three main reasons that someone comes up with a conspiracy theory, and those three reasons will determine really what you'll be able to get out of that conspiracy theory, what the conspiracy theory will and won't be useful for, and probably how true or false the conspiracy theory is. And I know that true and false can be somewhat fungible in the conspiracy theory area, but just give it a listen and you'll see what I mean. So, first of all, the first type of conspiracy theory is developed in earnest in reaction to mysterious events, events that need explaining. The best example of this will be the JFK assassination. The theory behind the JFK assassination, the conspiracy theory, is that it was not one lone gunman, that Lee Harvey Oswald did not do it on his own, and that there were other people involved. In fact, when other people are involved is when it becomes a conspiracy. This is like the most bare bones, the most matter of fact type of conspiracy theory. You simply are speculating, theoretically, there is a conspiracy. Somebody had to have worked together to make this happen. And there are real conspiracies in the world. If you want to look up a real one that has lots of data on it, and you can find all kinds of good information on in Wikipedia, very verifiable and all of that, look up the P2 conspiracy. It's a banking conspiracy that happened in Italy. There, you don't really have to worry about the theory, you can just get conspiracy fact. So, with conspiracy theory, when it comes to JFK's assassination, there are many theories as to how is it that he ended up being assassinated, um, because most people disagree that Lee Harvey Oswald was capable of doing it where he was situated with the equipment that he had on the time frame that there was, and because of all kinds of other factors that were happening at the time, many people heard gunshots elsewhere. There's all kinds of these factors. Conspiracy theories that try to solve the JFK assassination mystery are basically working on a murder mystery. It is one of the biggest murder mysteries of all time. Who done it? And so the end goal of a conspiracy theory that has to do with JFK's assassination typically is trying to solve his murder. So whenever you have a conspiracy theory that's based on this kind of situation, what you're really looking at is people trying to kind of do their own true crime podcast in their head. They're trying to figure out what happened and how it happened, and usually they're trying to do so by saying, well, but if the mafia were involved, then these things would be possible. If the CIA were involved, then these things could be possible. And this guy could have been from here if the CIA was involved. So you bring in other elements to see, well, maybe this could be explained by the involvement of this here. And when it comes to the JFK assassination, there are so many factors that are very strange in the actual facts of the case, that it's very easy to start coming up with conspiracy theories to try to explain what is just strange data. So that's one type of conspiracy theory, and I think that most people think of that whenever they think of conspiracy theories that are like non-political. Whenever they're thinking of wacky conspiracy theories, they're starting to think of some other types of conspiracy theories. But this was the original, the OG, was simply, how do we explain these strange, actually strange, historical circumstances that are recorded fact? So, that's the first type of conspiracy theory. Now, the second type of conspiracy theory is also responding to fact, but it's taking different facts from different places and kind of gathering them together to try to explain all of the facts together by saying, oh, they must be related. I would say the best example of this would be the UFO conspiracy involving the U.S. government. If you look at the history of UFOs in the U.S. specifically, you look at Roswell, you look at Area 51, the development of the stealth bomber, all kinds of weather balloons, many things involving the space program, many things involving like atomic testing and all of that. You also have many reports of UFOs in the U.S. where the government will not confirm or deny many things about it, and it makes it seem like they're definitely involved because of it. So I'd say that we've got almost a century of that kind of stuff happening in the US. So you take every historical incident of that happening, you line it all up in a timeline, and you call that the American UFO conspiracy theory. The theory isn't so much leading to any one particular thing that is a conclusion that anybody needs to prove. It's kind of an eternal theory. The government sure do be secretive about UFOs, huh? I mean, UAPs, right? Um, what I'm saying here is that this type of conspiracy theory is typically trying to connect a lot of different incidents to sort of explain them together. If there's a story about strange lights over Phoenix, then someone will probably connect it in some way to a UFO or to a secret government weapons project in some way. Or they will somehow connect it to some speculative government alien work that they've developed a theory on. There will be a very easy way to tie that all together. UFO stuff is very easy to interrelate to each other. If you try to do any research on UFOs, you're going to start experiencing some very interesting frustrations when it comes to data gathering because it's just all very vague. And some stuff is very specific. I'm not knocking people who report UFOs. I'm more saying that if you see a weird light in the sky, there's really not much else that you can say about it other than it moved around and it looked kind of like this. And then it goes away and then nothing happens except maybe like a strange stomach ache from possible radiation exposure. Like, imagine that happening for 50 years. What's the government going to say about it? Well, thus far, almost nothing. So, with that kind of conspiracy theory, people are trying to explain something by kind of bringing scattered elements together. There are a lot of things that are in the American UFO conspiracy that I would say may not ever really be relevant to UFOs. And this is because of the sheer amount of weather balloons that have ever existed. I'm sorry to say, but weather balloons do look weird, act weird, and cause strange phenomena, and they look strange whenever they're wrecked. I don't think that every phenomena that people have reported or cited or found has been because of weather balloons, but I think that, like, at least 10% could be weather balloons, and that on its own, mixed up into everything else, makes things confusing and frustrating. Because if it's weather balloons 10% of the time, then someone might be able to argue that it's weather balloons all of the time, shutting down quite a lot of more interesting and probably plausible theories than it's all just weather balloons. So, the frustrating part of the scattershot conspiracy theory, webbing all these things and connecting these points together, is that sometimes they truly are not connected. And because usually these kinds of theories are developed by people that are outside of expert research centers, outside of government authority, etc. They don't really have a lot of authority to impose on what is real, what is fact, and so a lot of these conspiracy theories just kind of remain nebulous, slowly collecting more incidents and shedding less credible ones as they go, and just becoming kind of a big ball, like a snowball theory of sorts. I'd say that they are useful for collecting data, but they're not very reliable for retaining the most, I'd say, verified information. When it comes to these theories, because they're so they're so massive, and because they collect so much different data, there's a lot of different stuff you have to verify, and sometimes just connections being made that really aren't there. So it can be kind of difficult to wrap your whole head around it, and it's very easy to have the temptation to just like say, okay, fine, it's all true. But I would suggest not just putting a big check mark over the entire thing. Um, Here, I'm gonna do that in a way that you could see it. um, I would suggest trying to parse its different parts and get an understanding of what all these things came from. Once you wrap your head around a big balloon conspiracy theory, balloon like weather balloon, like the big American UFO conspiracy, um, you start to get a good timeline for something, because to parse all that data, you're parsing basically 100 years worth of UFO reporting in the United States. So you're going to learn about all of that. Once you learn about all of that, then the big mass of data starts to become different points of data that kind of relate to each other, and are easier to organize. So can be difficult to take on. Give yourself some time. Allow yourself to say maybe to a lot of things, because it's very hard to tell what a light in the sky is whenever it's just being weird and you've barely got a camera that can even capture the image. So that's conspiracy theory type 2. Now, the third type of conspiracy theory is the conspiracy theory that is constructed specifically for a cherry-picked agenda. This is one where people take either facts or things that look like facts but are actually more illusory or just deceptions, and cobbling them together into something that looks like a story that they would like to tell about somebody that they don't like. Um, I just I cannot really. There are some times where these conspiracy theories are cherry put together to just present the story that the person wants to tell. For instance, there are definitely some UFO conspiracy theories that are much more wishful thinking. I'd say a lot of the ancient aliens conspiracy theories that I saw on the History Channel in the 80s and 90s were wishful thinking and largely disproven. I'm not saying any specific theory. I just saw like some very bad documentaries on crystal skulls back then, for instance, and I could tell that all of the not even data, but all of the stories that they were assembling together were very cherry picked, and there was a lot of citation needed going on, and that was because they wanted to make a documentary of sorts. They wanted to make content and sell it about a topic that people really are very interested in, but there really is very little actual data on. And these can sometimes be idle curiosity, like I said, the crystal skulls types of conspiracy theories, where there's a theory that that aliens must have been influencing some kind of ancient culture because they found some crystal carved skulls there, and the skulls are all shaped weird like they'd be from an alien, and they were so finely carved that there's no way that those primitive people could have carved them on their own without some kind of super technological assistance. And it always turns out that it's like the crystal skull itself is a hoax that was made in the last 50 years. So, I mean, that's how every single one of them turn out. Maybe it was made in the last 100 years, but these people are trying to claim that was like, 500 or 1,000 years old or something. So, crystal skulls, good example of a cherry-picked theory. Let's see. Now, what's interesting is that this category also includes most of the wacky conspiracy theories that people often enjoy looking up. They find details in these conspiracy theories that just seem so out there and random that they consider them to be wacky conspiracy theories. But actually, those details are put in to make them wacky and fun, so that people will be more likely to pick them up. Or the wacky details that they think are just hilarious and so random are actually coded references to anti-Semitism or racism. Or they're just like weird colonialist stuff that people don't recognize anymore because it's 150 years old and nobody actually recognizes those symbols, so it just gets interpreted as, lol, so random. It's important to know about this particular type of conspiracy theory, because a lot of times people will construct conspiracy theories to have elements of wacky, crazy silliness these days to get people interested in them, and then there will be actually some serious stuff in there that is anti-Semitic, that is racist, that is homophobic on purpose. I'd say Pizzagate is a classic example of a conspiracy theory that is trying to get people in on the wacky stuff, but then try to convince them maybe there's a little bit of truth to that. Maybe there's a little bit of truth to the fact that there's a mean thing that you could think about a marginalized group. And that's typically what these conspiracy theories are trying to get you to do if they're being illicit about things. Sometimes these conspiracy theories are just trying to prove a point very earnestly, but not doing very good science about it. I'd say that flat Earth conspiracy theories often end up in this category. Sometimes flat Earth conspiracy theories are earnest and they're trying to explain something that the author either noticed about physics or doesn't understand about physics, or both. Um, and sometimes flat Earth conspiracy theories are constructed to make these wacky sort of beliefs, but then slip in a bunch of anti-Semitism in about, like, the global banking conglomerates or something. Um, and so the third one I'd say is the most malicious and exploitative. It's just really not constructed, in my opinion, very genuinely and very scientifically. You can construct a theory scientifically. There are scientific theories. At its core, a conspiracy theory should just be a theory about a conspiracy. And I think that whenever people talk about conspiracy theories and want them to be taken seriously, or are trying to talk about them seriously, you should understand that there are these different types of conspiracy theories, and they have different purposes to them. The more nebulous kind, the second kind, where it's just a whole different web of interconnected facts, that kind of theory isn't really meant to be proven or disproven, and it's often really meant to stick around as kind of a collection of data. And so it will often have a lot less rigorous approach to data because it's trying to collect that data and archive it. You could consider it a kind of conspiracy mythology, where we keep this here so that we remember these stories, but they're not necessarily true. They're just important to history. And then the first type of conspiracy theory is simply an honest reaction to finding out some weird stuff in the world and trying to make sense of it all. And people are often trying to make sense of confusion. Many people, many people are honestly trying to make sense of this world as it is right now, and what's happening in it. And so conspiracy theories are often born out of genuine curiosity, a genuine striving for more truth in this world and for more knowledge, more understanding. And then some conspiracy theories are made because somebody's just, trying to be a dick. Um, so it's really important to understand what it is that you're looking at when you're looking at a conspiracy theory. Because I'd say that the ones that are constructed to purposely be bullying, I'd say David Icke, Icke. Um, he has a lot of conspiracy theories that are purposely meant to be bullying and anti-Semitic, um, in a way that is coded and sort of dog whistling. So if you don't understand what's going on, you might buy into it because it's wacky and weird. But if you do understand what's going on, you're going to buy into it because of the mean stuff. Um, Whereas there are some JFK assassination conspiracy theories that are just out there. They're just bug nuts. Like they exist in a world that doesn't exist. Um, there are JFK conspiracy theories that the government gave us in the trial about JFK's murder. The magic bullet theory, that's a JFK conspiracy theory. That purports that is a theory about how there was no conspiracy for the JFK assassination because Oswald's bullet was so amazing that it could do a weird wiggly thing and hit like several different people, and go at weird angles and stuff. They basically tried to explain several different wounds with only one bullet, purporting that said bullet is a sort of magic bullet. Um, and that's, I would say, a perfect example of the third type of conspiracy theory. One where something's purposely constructed to be misleading, to explain away something, to add confusion. And it's funny that it's kind of directly sitting on top of the JFK murder and the JFK conspiracy theory that is an honest reaction to trying to explore real questions and explain real mysteries. So, some food for thought for you, for anybody who's interested in reading about conspiracy theories and understanding more about them and the psychology of them. That's the three types: honest reaction, big collector's web, that's nebulous, and cherry picking in a way that could be manipulating, or it simply is just wishful thinking where someone's not quite being honest with themselves. You want to understand these three types of conspiracy theories, so that you don't basically treat one like the other, and so that you can just basically do better research. I think research is key when it comes to conspiracy theories. There's a lot out there that can be very confusing. There are a lot of different points of view. There are a lot of different sources for information. And this is really important stuff to examine because people are really, really whipped up about conspiracy theories, I'd say, in the last 5-10 years. This used to be a little fringe community, and it's really gone mainstream in a way that's concerning, in my opinion. So go out there, think big, think it all, please.